Welcome to the Delicious Alignment, Body Love, and Food Freedom podcast, where we discuss all things law of attraction and learning how to love your body and your food, as well as how to attract more health and wellness into your life with ease. I'm your host, Rhonda Ryder, author of Delicious Alignment, How 25 Women Learn to Love and Transform Their Bodies Using Abraham Hicks and the Law of Attraction. Today, we're doing something different. My friend, Radiant Raven, as we call her, is interviewing me. This turned out to be a great discussion on all things intuitive eating, the magic of getting calibrated, my own personal journey around feeling less and less body shame, and how getting happy is the secret to attracting more health and wellness into your life. Raven, my interviewer and member of our Delicious Alignment Facebook group since 2019, has been listening to Abe for over 15 years. Her enthusiasm for the Abe teachings have guided her to lead Law of Attraction groups, go on lots of Abe cruises around the world. In fact, this month, she'll be on the Italy and Adriatic coast cruise with her husband and 11-year-old daughter. Raven is just a pure delight, and I am so excited to share this lively conversation with you. Let's get started.
So let's dive in. I guess I love like everything that you're up to right now, and I think it's wonderful that you are just involved in a lot of different things, and you just keep following your intuition and your guidance and getting lots of calibrations yourself. And just continuing. I always feel like it's wonderful when you can have a mentor or a friend or whoever, someone who's like continually bettering themselves and wanting to just continue to refine and feel more and more in alignment. And seeing you getting to know you more over the past 2 years, I've just seen that in spades, and it's like you're walking the walk. You're walking the walk. Is that the saying, right?
Yeah, walking the walk.
Walking the walk. Yeah, and I just think that's so important. And so so you were involved in a lot of different things. I know that you've been doing the podcast for a while, so tell me like some of your favorite, moments of this, or how did it get started actually? How did this podcast get started?
Yeah. Well, it's like anything with me. It really started with the book. I was inspired. I kept getting inspirations and nudges from the universe to write this book. And for the longest time, I thought, not me. I'm not the one to write this book because I'm not skinny. I'm not this. I'm not a health expert. I am far from all of these things. And I just kept getting the nudge from the universe to write this book and interview women who learned how to love their bodies. And at the time, it was also how to transform their bodies with the law of attraction. And okay, so all right, I'll do it. I felt like I often thought of how, not that I'm very religious, but I often thought of like how Moses, the story of Moses. No, not me. I'm not the one to do this. I'm like, please, no, I don't want. But I just felt guided. Yeah, but I felt guided, and the more I resisted, the more it persisted, and I just really, in my meditations and etc., I felt the strong guidance to write the book. So I interviewed 25 women, and I listened to every single thing I could find that Abraham Hicks had to say about the subject of loving your body. And also at the time, I would say I was more focused on weight loss, which now I'm more focused on helping people learn how to, to love themselves and accept themselves at any size. And also food freedom. I'm really into helping people access that food freedom, not be so tormented by their thoughts about what I'm eating, when I'm eating, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I loved interviewing these women, 25 women, and I interviewed many more than 25, had to pick 25,
Oh,
you
wow.
know?
You've got a part two coming then. You've got volume delicious. By the way, the name of the book, just in case someone doesn't know, is called Delicious Alignment.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, maybe there's a part two in there.
Well, yeah. So the podcast, I feel, is the part two, is the
Ah.
continuation, because I love interviewing people. I
Hmm.
really
Hmm.
do. And before I became a coach, helping people with all topics, but mainly um, body love and food freedom, I was a writer. I was a writer, and I would write for other people, and I would interview them. As when you want to write for someone, you you need to interview them.
You have to get to know them, yeah,
Yeah.
and know what they're thinking. Yeah.
Yes. And so I was curious about so many different topics. So I would love to get all different kinds of clients and interview them. In order to write their websites or their sales letters, I would need to interview them. And I love that part of the job. So continuing on with the podcast, I had the nudge from my inner being, from the universe, saying podcast, podcast, podcast. And again, I wasn't as stubborn this time.
Yeah.
I was
Yes.
learning. I'm learning more. You get better and better and better. I just stop questioning. Just listen to that. What's lighting up? Listen and look and follow what's lighting up right now. And the podcast kept lighting up
Mm.
because I wanted to continue on with the stories in the book. There's 25 stories in the book. I love interviewing these women. I'm interviewing men as well. What worked for you? What about the law of attraction? What spiritual journey what have you been
Mm.
on that has led you to this place where now you actually have some access with loving your body and loving your food, and less and less guilt about what you're doing, less and less judgment. It evolves. It's not like boom, it's gone, it's stopped. You're not doing any of those things anymore. It evolves. It's an unfolding. So I love interviewing people about their journeys, like the before and after story, before the law of attraction, Abraham, whatever it is. It's not only Abraham Hicks. There's plenty of other teachers I'm learning now that I'm even open to. So yeah, that's how the podcast came about.
I love that you're focusing on the evolution, because it really, or like the evolving aspect of the journey around food freedom and self love, and that it's not just like an end point that you get to and you're done, because it's
Mm-mm.
definitely not. You don't get your PhD and then you're done.
Yeah, like Abraham says, you never get it done. And I mean, I still have these, and I talk to my clients about it. I mean, I still have the occasional thoughts like, oh, you ate, why did you eat that? It's so late at night. It's going to go straight to your thighs. And
Right.
but it's not like it used to
Yes.
be. It's not like it used to be.
Mm.
I can
Mm.
soothe it now, and I know what to
Yeah.
do. hmm
Yeah. That's so
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So I love that. Like so I love that we just started with your book and then recognizing that the podcast is actually like an evolution
hmm
of the book, and
hmm
that it's like like we just said, volume two of the book. I,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's so wonderful. So what have been some of the highlights of doing this podcast so far? So far, because I
So
know there's
far.
lots more to come. You've mentioned you've already done 16 podcasts, which is
hmm
to me earlier. She mentioned it. But what would have been some of the highlights of? Can you share with us?
Yeah, sure. I would say, I mean, they're all so juicy and so good, and I think when I think about some of the highlights, I definitely think about a client of mine that I interviewed, Jenny Winter, and she was in a literal diet cult for 10 years.
That's
Gwen
extreme.
Shamblin.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gwen Shamblin, who actually died in a plane crash, I believe. She created this Christian-based diet cult. I mean, she didn't call it a cult, of course, but and HBO Max made a documentary about it called The Way Down, WAY, but her movement was called The Way Down, WEIGH, down. So Jenny contacted me to start coaching with me. And I'll never forget our first session where I started to get a sense that this girl, this woman, this mother of six, she doesn't look like a mom of six. I mean, she looks very, very young, and she's got teenagers. And anyway, she was afraid to eat anything,
Mm, mm,
broccoli, vegetables. She would get so much anxiety and sickness in her stomach when she thought about eating anything. There was so much guilt and shame and anxiety around a basic human, you know, need, desire, natural thing
natural.
of
Yeah.
eating.
Hmm.
So much
Primal.
prime, yeah,
Yeah. We got to
so
eat.
yes, they told her, and if you listen to her podcast, yeah, episode, I mean, they told her, you got to not eat. You have to starve yourself until you get thin. And they shamed her for, for whatever, for her body. And so much, I think, of what goes on in life. It's a metaphor. It happens in the world, society, but that is an exaggeration of what is happening probably to most girls anyway. Like I had the same thing. I wasn't in a diet cult, but
You know what I
I
was
could
just
have
going to
been. I could
say?
have been.
Right. I was just going to say it's almost like we have an internal cult inside of us, that we're
Mm.
going to and we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
we're listening to it and it seems like, oh, this is the truth. We have to do, there's a right way and there's a wrong way and all that stuff. Yeah, it's like an
Yeah.
internal cult that we
Yeah,
let
but we're getting it from the messages about from when we're little girls. It's getting better now. It's getting better
Yes.
now, but
Yeah.
there's definitely transformation and movement because of people like us and people like me
Yes.
talking about this. It's a big movement of body positivity. All that, I love that. And Lizzo, love her.
Yes, Lizzo. I
Just like,
love
hey,
her.
I'm here.
It's about damn time.
I'm not hiding myself. I am not covering
Yeah.
myself up. I am here. And anyway, so I'll never forget working with Jenny and meeting with her and having calibrations using the Mallison method, Gina Mallison's Mallison method that I'm uh, a practitioner of, and working with Jenny and just over time, and not that much time either. We only worked together for a few months. She could eat food without getting sick.
Yeah.
She could eat
Yeah.
food again without getting sick.
Hmm.
And she could start to enjoy food again.
Mm. Mm. That's huge too. Just even going from neutrality to
Mhm.
enjoyment. I mean, that's high up the emotional gut
Mhm.
scale, to be able to get to enjoyment. So there's
Yes.
a lot of steps in between there.
There are a lot of people that I work with that do not enjoy food. And they could be like what some might say, "Oh, that person is needs to lose 100 pounds," like people out, judging, right? And they're not enjoying their food. So you think
Hmm.
that, they enjoy food. They enjoy food a lot. They're not enjoying their food because there's so much stuff thoughts,
Yes.
judgments, criticisms attached to the act of eating that they have forgotten. Myself included, I was in that category where I forgot how to, that childlike thing of just eating when you're hungry, enjoying your food, and then you're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You're on to the next thing,
Yeah.
right? It's done. You ate, you're full. Okay, on to the next thing. That's what a child does.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they don't have any major interference, breaking that natural cycle, they just eat and then they move on
Right.
and they enjoy it and then they're
Yeah.
done.
They eat the cake batter off the whisk, and then they're on to something else.
Yeah,
They don't think
exactly.
about it. They're not thinking about like anything about their thighs. You know?
Right. Right. All this other concerns and worries and judgments. And so I love that interview for sure. That's probably one of my favorites. And then the next is with, I would say, Nicole Hale, who, I mean, people just love that. They want to know. Okay, let's be real. They want to know how to lose weight. Okay,
Right. Right.
so and my work, although I understand that, and my work is getting more about how to attract more of what you want, whether that's more health and wellness or self-love, or if you want to release pounds, that's wonderful. There's nothing, I'm not anti desires.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham says
Mm-hmm.
any desire you want, because I know there's a lot of movements out there that are like anti-diet, and yeah, for I'm not for that. I'm not for diets because I feel like we can talk about that too. The restriction is part
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
that causes the problem in the first place. So anyway, with Nicole, she talks about how she released 100 pounds by getting happy. And to me, that's really the secret to the
Yeah.
secret. It's to
Yes.
anything that you want.
Yeah.
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 And she just decided, okay, I'm gonna focus on my happiness because all this other stuff ain't working.
Yeah,
And
I sound almost, and I haven't heard the podcast yet, but I love that it's like, it's kind of when you get to the bottom, and it's just like I gotta just surrender.
yes,
I'm just gonna have to try this thing out that sounds crazy that Abraham talks about, or other teachers too, to just get happy. And see, and it sounds ludicrous. It sounds like it cannot be that easy. It cannot be that easy.
right.
And yet here she's living proof that it can be.
Mhm. Yeah, it it is about that, because we think that we want something because we're gonna be happy when we get that. Meanwhile, it's the happiness that has you, you know, attract and allow that thing into your
Hmm.
life. In this case, release for her, releasing 100 pounds, she just started focusing on what what do I enjoy? What do I like to do? How do I like to move my body? I think she likes Zumba and dancing, and just like, okay, I'm gonna do this, not because I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna do it because it's fun and I enjoy it
Right.
and I like to move my body. And what do I like to eat? What kind of wine do I like? Just all the things, like focusing on
Mm,
all the things that she likes and enjoys.
yeah.
And then the rest, she didn't focus on any kind of weight loss program. She just did that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I went on the
That's
cruise,
powerful.
I think earlier this year, and I met her in person. Actually, that's how I got the podcast interview. Is we met in person, we became friends, we hung out together a lot, we danced on the dance floor, and she's just really exemplifies all. Well, who doesn't? Most people on Abraham
The
cruises,
Abraham cruises.
yeah,
Yeah.
are just fun loving, just high
Yeah.
vibing souls. And yeah, so I know her personally from that cruise, and she embodies all of that. And and she talks about that. All right, so that's a great podcast. And the other one, I don't know if you asked me to name 3, but I have this other one with
bring it, girl, bring
it. Bring it.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, because if someone hasn't even heard your podcast, it's a great place to start, and know which ones that were really highlighted. I know that they're all valuable, and it's nice to know, oh, these are some of the ones that really are good to start with.
Well, top of my head, these are the ones that stand out. So I think Jill Hofer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and we became friends before again, I met her in person on the cruise, but we became friends before the cruise. And then she was, I think, somebody somewhere told me about her blog post where she was talking about how she consumed like a crazy amount of calories. She's a person who tracks that sort of thing, tracks numbers, tracks calories. That would like totally
me too.
Throw me for a big giant loop. Like I wouldn't, but that works for her. So again, it's about whatever feels good to you. It's always about whatever feels good to you. There's no like do this, do that as far as food, or it's about connection with your inner being and then following your guidance. Anyway, she tracked her calories. This is a crazy, 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 crazy amount of calories for this. She's tiny, really tiny woman, and and she like did not gain a pound. Like she came back because she's used to eating this amount. I don't even know what the numbers are because I don't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there's a story there, and it's just again shows it's about vibration, because you're especially when you're on vacation, you're on such a high vibration. And I was just talking to a client the other day. Yeah. She was like, I was like, okay, how was your week? What are your wins for the week? Well, I was on vacation and I really wasn't judging my food. I didn't have the voice. What are you eating? Why are you eating that? No. And I said, yeah, you were on vacation, right? I was on vacation. And when I'm on vacation, I guess I don't do that. It's all okay. And just know, it's just maybe we should just pretend like we're on vacation all the time.
Yes. Yes. That reminds me of when Abraham would talk about, we wish you guys would just imagine that it's your birthday every day, because we do all these special things for ourselves on our birthday. And it's like, they were like, just imagine that it's your birthday every day and just keep doing that. Keep doing things that are fun and enjoyable. Like you were describing about the woman who's doing what makes her happy, and figuring that out. But I love that they talk about that.
I love that. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, those are my 3 for that. But I'm gonna be really excited about this interview because I love this.
Yeah. The thing that I appreciate about all these podcasts and the book too is that there's this, I love when Abraham talks about that, we have these rockets of desire that we put out. And, in some ways it's like the strong asking that we have when we're in kind of turmoil, or we have strong desires, when we have so much angst around something. I love that it means that the solution is happening at the same time. That as this person that like, I even think about my own life, that as I have such strong desire to have food freedom, or more food freedom, more self-love, more, it just means that it's building up even more, and that there's nothing wrong. It's so beautiful that there's nothing wrong that these cults happen, or in intense situations happen, or we get ourselves all twirled up, because the other side, or the journey, let me say that differently, because it really isn't about the other side. It's about that evolution that we were talking about earlier. But I feel like your podcasts and your books and stuff, they give a chance to see that evolution happening.
Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying this special episode. It was so fun to get interviewed by Raven. I'm popping in for just a minute to let you know about a free 3-day event I'm doing beginning Monday, October 24th called Easy Peasy Holidays. Can you believe I'm talking about the holidays already? This year has flown by, and if you're like me, you're already thinking about what you want to attract in 2023. That's actually the main reason I've decided to create this event. It's going to be a powerful pre-paving experience addressing not only what kind of holiday you want, but also what you want to create for the new year. I know what it's like to have lots of family to navigate through, to feel family stress, food stress, or even loneliness stress during the holidays. Many people love the holidays, and others dread it, feeling like everyone else is busy with fun celebrations except you. What I've learned is it's okay to create the kind of holiday you want. It's okay to get in touch with your inner being and ask, what am I guided to create this year? A peaceful holiday, a time for reflection, or a time of joyous celebrations, or a little of both? There's no right or wrong way. There's only alignment and finding that delicious, sweet spot for you. For me, I've gotten to the place where I want my holidays and my life to be easy peasy and peaceful, with some joy thrown in there. What I've discovered is it's all about releasing resistance, and we do that by learning how to calibrate our emotions, moment by moment. I have found the most amazing tools and techniques to help you release resistance you may have been carrying around for years or even decades. I want to show you step by step how you can do these techniques on your own. During these 3 days, I'm going to teach you how to tune into better feeling emotions when feeling stress or anxiety about food, body image, anxiety, loneliness, or any topic you want to feel better about, and also how to self-calibrate. These are all tools you can use on your own on a day-to-day basis, not only to get through the holidays, but to enjoy them, right? To help you learn these techniques, I'll be doing live calibration demos, emotional tuning, and breathwork demos. Also, I'll be doing some Q&A and showing you how to do these techniques on your own. They're like super simple. I also have a wonderful guest lined up for you on day 2 that I cannot wait to announce. If any of this is calling you, go ahead and grab your spot at deliciousalignment.com/holidays. There will also be a link in the show notes. Space is limited and replays will be available if you can't attend live. I hope you will join me. It is going to be fun and transformative.
Yeah, I'm just gonna add this in here because I mean I know it's not related to food, but at the same time I feel like it's connected, interconnected is just at the education system. Just being raised in a system that you're told like, okay, you should read this book, you should you have to do these things instead of just following what your general inspiration is. And I'm not saying that school is bad or anything like that, because I mean it's whatever a person's journey is fine. But at the same time, like I remember it took me a year after college, and I thought I was a horrible reader. But I picked up a book and I read it in 2 days. And it's so different to read a book from inspiration. And I turned to my husband and I was like, "Oh my God, I love this book." And I read it so fast. And he's like, "Were you interested in it?" I was like, "Yes." I was super excited about it. I read it and it completely changed my understanding and made me realize, oh, I'm like, deactivating all of these, like, oh, you're supposed to read it. And it made me think that I wasn't good at reading that whole time. And yet now I love to read. It depends on what it is, it depends on
Yeah.
what you're reading and I feel like the same thing can be said for food and the relationship with food. We're told at a very young age from our parents, like, oh, you should eat this or you shouldn't eat this or whatever. I mean, it depends on the family structure, obviously, or we get it from outside sources. but to actually begin to listen to the inside, like
Mm-hmm.
what if it was just, easy and you were just like, oh, that felt good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
so
It
fun.
is a new experience for many of us to begin to listen to our bodies, not only with food, it's just like, what do I want to do right now? Like going back to the interview with Nicole Hale, like what would make me happy right now? Like just exercising all those muscles. What do I want to read right now? I don't want to read, or I do
Yeah.
want to read. And I know
Yeah, and
yeah.
we know how powerful those statements can be and those questions can be because they start to turn us, as Abraham would say, downstream. Just even a simple question of, well, what do I want? What would bring me joy right now? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, those are great questions to be asking that are so much, they're higher on the scale or moving up the scale versus, oh my God, there's nothing to eat here. Like that's like, and I'll never
Yeah.
figure it out. Or I don't know what, that's just, it's all that self language. Speaking of that, actually, I would love to hear what have been some of the kind of transformation that you've had over the past, year or so. Like what kind of, through doing private practice, your private practice, and then the podcast and the Mallison method training. I mean, you're involved in so many different things. Obviously, you're on a journey too.
Mm-hmm.
Tell your listeners what kind of breakthroughs have you, breakthroughs is always an interesting word, but what
Mm-hmm.
kind of evolution have you been on? What have been some of the highlights
Mm-hmm.
there for you?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much. I just really feel like I kind of thought I was done, not like done, like there's nothing else to learn. I mean, I knew there's more to learn, there's more to grow, but I really thought like I'm kind of okay. Things are good, and then I found a whole new level.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I didn't know was available for me. I
Mhm.
just didn't
Mhm.
know it was available. Maybe I knew it was available, but I didn't know it was available for me.
Mm.
Um, so much more spiritual kind of just these moments, of like awe and bliss. You're not always going to be at that place of awe and bliss, but just these little moments, more and more of those of appreciation and um I'm nicer to live with.
I
I
love
am.
that. Let's interview your husband. Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
One time I said to him, I think I'm gonna quit the program, Gina's program. And he's like, no, no, please don't. Don't do that.
Don't do that, please.
Yeah,
Oh, I
I
love
can
his
admit that. I can
honesty.
admit that. But the
Yeah. Oh,
biggest,
that's beautiful.
it
That's
really is. It
beautiful.
really is. I mean,
Yeah.
because,
What a great reflection that he
hmm
sees something in you. You're happier, you're
hmm
more in harm, more easygoing, more in, whatever that looks like for
hmm
you. Um, you know,
Yes. Well, it all, affects him. So, right?
yeah.
Okay. So, the biggest thing I think, well, one of the biggest things also is that like I might have shared before, when I wrote the book, I didn't feel like I was the one to write the book. Like, in my mind, if you're going to write a book like this, you got to, have the perfect body and all of this kind of stuff. And even while I did, lose weight, lose 30 pounds, went down a few sizes, etc., I still didn't feel worthy to write the book. I
Mm,
still felt shame around, but I was aware of it and I kept on. Uh, when I learned about calibrations, I get calibrated on it, and I kept on growing as spiritually and getting more confidence gradually. But one of the biggest things that I've noticed maybe in the past year is that, oh, I don't have to be a skinny mini to be worthy
Mm.
of this, of writing, this stuff or teaching this stuff. I mean, I can be who I am. And
Mm-hmm.
so the shame gets to go away more, a little bit
Dissolve.
more, and a little bit
Yeah.
more. And I get to be me, who I am, and without, and I love seeing, I mean, because I vacillate between a size 12 and a 14, and then sometimes I get oh, that's too big to be teaching this stuff. And like, I feel more, and that's what my path was for, is to help me learn so I could help others.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
Mm-hmm.
I have these beautiful women, maybe they're small, they're tiny, coming to me for coaching. In the beginning, I felt, oh my God, what do I have to offer them? Because I wasn't worthy. I wasn't,
Yeah,
it
this is
doesn't,
so powerful. This is
yes.
such a
Yeah.
powerful topic. Continue on.
Yeah, and because
Just
it
had to
doesn't
mention that.
yeah, it is, and it doesn't matter what size the person is. Doesn't mean they don't have these same issues and these same the voice, I call it, the critical voice, or the fears, the fear of food, the fear of not looking a certain way, the fear of not being loved or being judged, and just the things though we say to ourselves, right? And so my journey has been, oh, okay, maybe I can be lovable at this size. Maybe I'm okay at this size. Maybe I don't have to get starve myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
to be worthy to teach
Mm-hmm.
this. I mean, you know, I like
Yeah.
freedom. I don't have a strong desire to be a size 7, or nothing wrong with that.
Right. Right.
But my desires, I like to move my body. I like to exercise. I
You
like,
like to hike? Yeah,
I
I love
love
to
to
hike.
hike. And so, well, again, the biggest, I think, thing for this past year has been to be okay with me
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
being whatever size I am, because it's
Yeah.
about self-love,
Yeah.
and it's about being comfortable in your own skin. And if I have to be skinny to do that, that's like a contradiction.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, and I also
yeah.
feel like, I mean, I feel like there's the age old, whatever you're wanting to understand more deeply, the best way to do that is to teach
Mhm.
it.
Right.
So, I
Exactly.
mean, you're
Exactly.
getting an opportunity to really deep dive through all these stories, and then your private practice, and the podcast. You're just getting a chance to
Yeah.
get a deep dive into this and learn it so deeply, to
Yeah.
understand it in the nuances of it
Yeah.
too.
And also and also feeling beautiful. Like feeling beautiful, owning
Mm-hmm.
that, owning my
Mm-hmm.
power, and like getting in touch with that. And that's really the calibrations help, because you actually, I remember having a calibration and like, oh my God, I just like accessing that, feeling what it's like to feel how beautiful you are, and not even talking about physically. I'm talking about more about, yes, feeling beautiful physically,
Yeah.
but also feeling like feeling how beautiful I
Yes.
am as a being, as a soul. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, calibrations, which I would love to talk about calibrations too. But I mean, the cool thing is when I first started calibrating with Gina a long time, I couldn't even talk about body stuff. I couldn't even, would not bring it up about any
Mm-hmm.
kind of food, anything was off could not even get near it. It took like a year for me personally, which I'm not saying that that would be the same for everybody, but for me, it took like a good year to be able to even bring it as
Mm-hmm.
a topic to calibrate. But I think that's the beauty is you can calibrate all sorts of other things.
Mm-hmm.
And they all impact. They kept impacting that topic though without me knowing it, which is kind of cool. Well, darling, I have loved just going down this path with you, this journey. And I love that it continues to evolve, and I can't wait to see where it's going to go next. Because I mean, just I know you're involved in a lot of different things right now, but I just know there's so much more on the way, on the horizon. So,
Always
yeah,
more.
always more. Yes. But thank you
Yeah.
so much for allowing me the just gift of being able to chat with you and interview you and have your listeners get to know you better.
Thank you. This is a real treat for me. I appreciate it so much, Raven.
Yeah, yay.
Here are the takeaways from this episode. 1. Having strong desires or contrasts does not mean there's anything wrong. It simply means you're on your path. 2. Only in looking back can you see how all the experiences in your life led you to the next step. 3. Things are easy when you do them from inspiration rather than exasperation. 4. Getting happy helps you attract more health and wellness. 5. What would bring you more joy right now? This is a great question to ask yourself many, many times throughout the day. 6. Listening to your body is a natural state of being you can access, again, even after years of restrictive dieting. 7. Your body love and food freedom journey is one that is continually evolving. 8. Shame goes away when you begin to understand who you really are. 9. If intuitive eating seems scary, it's because you've built up a lot of momentum over the years or decades of not listening to your body. But have no fear, the intuition comes back. In fact, it never left. It's just like riding a bicycle. 10. Calibrations aren't about getting advice. They're about helping you connect to your inner being so you can receive your own divine guidance. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Raven Chaplin. It was so much fun for me to get interviewed on my own podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love it if you would subscribe to this podcast and leave a review. That helps us spread the very important message of body love and food freedom. And I've got something new to announce. If you're interested in sponsoring one of my next episodes, email us at support@deliciousalignment.com for more information. This podcast is growing and we have many opportunities for sponsoring episodes. One more thing, if you'd like to connect with Raven, and who wouldn't, you can find her on Facebook at Raven Chaplin or by emailing her at ravenchaplin@gmail.com. Find all the links mentioned in this podcast at deliciousalignment.com/podcast and make sure to join my Facebook group, Delicious Alignment. Do you know someone who could benefit from the Delicious Alignment message? If so, help change their life by sharing this podcast with them.